Hello everyone, welcome back to Speaking Spurs and me, Kieran, talking all things Tottenham. Talking about today the cup defeat against Nottingham Forest. I'm not going to go in depth about the actual game itself and all the ways that we played and stuff. I'll talk about a few of the players, talk about a couple of the issues, one being Harry Kane and his fatigue that Conte spoke about at the end of the game. So yeah, that's it. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Make sure you support the video over like, and as usual, post your comments below to keep the conversation going. So this was away at the City Ground where Nottingham Forest play. Third round of the Carabao Cup. We come away with a 2-0 loss. Goals in the 50th and 57th minute from Renan Lodi and Jesse Lingard. And then Mangala was sent off in the 75th minute. Even with that 15 minutes plus added, we still didn't manage to find a way through. Well, we kind of did because Richarlison had a goal, but it was chalked off for offside. So let's talk about the teams that were put out. I say the teams, let's talk about our team a little bit. So for us, Fraser Forster made his debut in goal. I actually thought he had a very good game, made a couple of key saves. Couldn't do anything about the first goal at all. It was a decent strike. And then the second one, it was down to the defence being poor. Sanchez started on the right, Dyer back in the middle with Longley on the left of the back three. Then Matt Doherty and Ryan Sessegnon were the preferred wing-backs for this game, with Oliver Skipp, Yves Bissouma and Højbjerg in the middle, and then Kane up front alongside Perisic once again. However, the success of Perisic this time round, not great. Substitutes that were used on the 45th minute, so half-time, Bentancur came on replacing Højbjerg. Who Højbjerg didn't have his best game, but it wasn't his worst game. But actually, I think we were worse without him. I think maybe he'd have been better off taking off Bissouma. But hey ho, or Skipp, to be fair. Skipp was playing in a more advanced role, which he's not quite suited to. And the issue we had, Skipp, Bissouma, Højbjerg, very similar ilk of player. Well, Bissouma's a little bit different to them, but they all essentially do kind of the same job for us. They're mainly central midfielders with a bit of a defensive work rate to break up play and help progress us forward. I would say that of all of them, Bissouma's more box to box, and then Bentancur is more of the creative minded one of those midfielders. Skipp certainly isn't, but maybe he played him there because Conte's seen something in training that Skipp can be that man. I don't think he's ready for that kind of link up play yet. But yeah, so Bentancur came on for Højbjerg at half time. And I think we missed Højbjerg a little bit. Then on the 59th minute, we saw the introduction of Richarlison, Brian Hill and Dejan Kulusevski. Then on the 65th minute, Spence was introduced as well. So if we look at the Forest lineup, Hennessy was in goal. Serge Aurier made his return against us. Worrell, Bowley and Lodi. Then you had Yates, Mangala, O'Brien, Lingard, Awoniyi and Surridge. But they did put on... So they used Cook, Williams, Colback, Gibbs-White and Johnson came on from the bench at various points in the second half. So, you know, their team wasn't amazing. I thought Aurier actually had an okay game, made a decent interception in the second half, actually put a cross in for one of their goals. So, I mean, he was always going to have a decent-ish game. I think he got a good reception from the Spurs faithful. Some of the players gave him a good reaction on the pitch and afterwards. But in terms of, you know, the game itself from us, not great at all. Not great whatsoever. Had a feeling that this might happen. Once again, with those players coming back from injury, they didn't start. Skipp's obviously not had too much football. Especially not in that attacking position. I think that's only the second or third time he's ever played there for us. But look, Forest were well worth their victory. They struck the post in the first half through Awoniyi, Lingard and Worrell also going close. I mean, without Fraser Forster in between the sticks, it could have been much worse for us. But yeah, Lodi curled his one home past Forster, couldn't do much about it. And then Lingard completed another counter-attack for them with a close range header just minutes later. And as I said, I feel that was a defensive mistake. And as I said, Mangala sent off with 15 minutes to go after two bookable offences, like in very quick succession. And then obviously the goal from Richarlison, that was disallowed. That was for offside. Yes, it was offside. It wasn't even what I would call a close call. We could all see it from where we were when it went in. But we tried to mount some pressure, but once again, too little, too late. Forest made 9 changes to their side from the last game out, which actually, shows you that we should have given them a better game than that. But I do think, as well as Harry Kane being tired, I think a lot of the players in our squad are tired. And yes, some of that is down to the fact that Conte doesn't rotate enough. Also, a lot of it is down to players coming back from injury and not being fit. But yeah, the game itself, it just wasn't enough from us. I think a lot of the players, and it's hard to blame them because they're only human. Some players are going to have one eye on the World Cup. Some of them would have had their eye on the game at the weekend. As much as I would have loved to have seen us win the game and go on and win the competition, because it is a very winnable competition for us, I think we as Spurs fans need to unfortunately understand the position we're in. We're in the Champions League. Players have got a World Cup coming up. We're also sitting 4th in the table. So to then go on a cup run in the Carabao Cup and to also expect to do well in the FA Cup, that's 4 competitions that we're in. Our squad is kind of depleted in terms of injury at the moment. So, it's one of them. You kind of have to prioritise things. And I think there will be some Spurs fans out there that will be saying, look, we would rather we win a trophy. And yes, the Carabao Cup is a trophy. It would be good. Sorry if the colours just change in the background. I'm just jumping between websites here just to get my notes up, because I'm going to talk about the players individually as well. But yeah, it's a hard one. We're in so many different competitions with a smaller squad. January, yes, we will try and add players, but off the back of that, there's going to be players returning for us from the World Cup, probably with injury. Players that we might be looking at that have a good World Cup might then get injured. If somebody has a good World Cup, obviously that puts their price right up. So does that then put players out of our price range? It's a very difficult situation to be in. Ultimately, as gutted as I am as a fan to be out of the Cup, the realistic side of me knows that this is an opportunity. It's one less competition we've got to worry about with a depleted squad. So could actually help us further down the line within the Premier League, Champions League and FA Cup. So let's talk about the players themselves. So Fraser Forster in goal, made his debut. He didn't actually seem to realise that Sanchez's early block clearance was going to hit the right-hand post. He made up for it with a save from Lingard's follow-up header. He made a good save from Worrell from point-blank range 23 minutes in. Pushed away a powerful Lingard effort just after the break. Couldn't do much about Lodi's curling effort. And then he made a big save from Surridge in a one-on-one situation moments later. And then again from Johnson. On the day, our best player by a long, long way. So if I was to give him a player rating, even though we're on the losing side, I'd give him an 8. Davinson Sanchez, unfortunately, is having a dreadful time at the moment. He had a really good spell last season. Every time he's coming from Romero, I think he's been pretty impressive. But I think he's spent too long out of the fold recently, and I think that's kind of contributing to the shaky display. So I'm not completely blaming him. Eric Dyer continued his recent run of subpar displays. Wasn't commanding enough in the slightest in this game. Clement Longley, bit disappointed by him. I thought he was a bit jittery in possession at times, not as composed as he normally is. Doherty, very disappointing night from him. Sent a well-executed half volley towards goal at Hennessy, which he saved well in the first half, but didn't really offer much else apart from that. It was kind of a bit like Royale's performance at the weekend, nothing really. Oliver Skipp seems to look a bit quicker. It looks like his pace is starting to build up. He must have done a lot of strength work in his legs, glutes and that, but doesn't look as effective in that advanced role. He's more of an anchor man. Basuma, after that promising display against Liverpool, he offered little in this encounter, especially going forward, which I was disappointed about. Højbjerg played the first half before being replaced by Bentancur, like I said. Tried to make things happen. One good ball through to Perisic. Not enough in midfield. And as I said, too many similar styles of players in there. We went to pieces, though, after he went off in terms of shape. He was really holding that together. Sessegnon, another, like Doherty, poor performance. Shaky on the ball, offered little going forward. Unfortunately for him, he had to play on with an injury after our final sub without noticing that he was signalling to the bench that he wanted to come off. He does get an extra bit of merit for putting himself through that pain barrier on the game to help out the side. But he would look like he was walking off very painful, and it was a long walk across the pitch after the final whistle for him. Harry Kane barely touched the ball before coming off after 59 minutes, and then Perisic, the last of the starters, did little to no other than slinging a couple of set pieces. Moving on to the subs, Bentancur came on at the break but wasn't able to change things at all. Richarlison, plenty of effort, had the ball in the net but was offside. Kulusevski offered some attacking threat but not enough to find a breakthrough. And then Bryan Hill buzzed around but with little effect. Got knocked off the ball a couple of times, was appealing for fouls but pretty weak from him. So let's talk about Harry Kane. So Antonio Conte admitted that England captain Harry Kane is really, really tired less than a week before England fly out to the World Cup. For England fans, very worrying. For Spurs fans, I think we got to kind of accept that he's got to play just because of our injuries. You know, no Sonny, Richarlison not fit enough really to start. Kulusevski not quite fit enough to start. Lucas Moura back injured again. So that left Harry Kane, Perisic as a backup. You know, what can I say? I mean, his participation was in doubt anyway due to the tiredness, but Conte actually said he had no choice but starting because of the injuries in the squad. By the time he came off, we were already 2-0 down. It looked like it was a pre-planned move anyway, but actually Harry Kane has played all but 33 minutes of our last 12 games in the last 39 days. And I know people will say these are proper athletes, they should, you know, be fit enough to cope with this, but there's a difference between training several times a week and only playing twice a week to playing like 3 games every 10 days, because you're having to put your maximum in. You're having to exert all that energy. You don't train to play 3 times a week or 3 times in 10 days. To be fair, you haven't got enough time to train in between the games to get yourself back ready. A lot of that time is just recovery. So, you know, Conte actually revealed that Kane pulled out of Tuesday's training session to preserve energy, but far from ideal, especially with England's campaign in Qatar starting on the 21st of November and with another Premier League game on Saturday to come, which I think is absolutely crazy why teams in England are squeezing in a game. And, you know, it's not down to the players, it's not down to the clubs. Why the league, I mean, it was bad that Qatar World Cup was even allowed to happen at this stage of the season. Obviously, Qatar, too hot for everyone to go in the summer, which is why it is when it is. But why the league would then allow these games to go ahead, it is not right. They have no concern for player safety whatsoever. No doubt there's going to be players that possibly, it's going to go one of 2 ways. Players are going to be stubborn and want to prove to the fans they'll put all their effort in for the clubs, and some of them will get injured before the World Cup and, you know, their dream's over. And then there will be the others that have one eye on the World Cup and might not put their all in. So teams with less internationals in their squad could come out on top this weekend in a lot of games around the world. But Conte said with Harry until this morning, so the morning of the game, we waited to see if he could start or not. But in this situation, he was the only striker for us. For this reason, I can only say thanks for the availability that the players show him. It was a problem of tiredness, really, really tired. And yesterday we had a soft training session, and at one point he stopped himself to recover energy. But he's okay, it's only fatigue, but it's normal because Harry played every game. When you have a player like him, it's difficult to decide not to play with him, basically. Other players, maybe they could tell me I'm tired and don't want to play and help the team, but I have a group of players who are men and good players because of this. Another could be selfish and think for himself because in 1 week they have to play in a World Cup. Instead, Harry Kane showed to be a really good man. Today it was really difficult. If Kane told me maybe it's better I don't start today because I risk a lot to have an injury. So I think you're saying there, he maybe would have allowed Kane to not play if he'd have said he's worried about the injury. He said, but I repeat, it's normal what's happening in this period. I mean, we've got a grueling schedule, but it's kind of down to our own success. We got ourselves back into the Champions League. We know the situation we're in. Maybe we should have bought a few more players in the summer, or the alternative would have been to maybe not send all of those players out on loan. I mean, I don't know. I know some of them have struggled to fit in, but it's a difficult one. Should we have sent all those players out on loan? Would they maybe have helped us? Would it have been better to keep a few back, get through to this stage of the season, and then maybe send them out on loan in January when, teams maybe are suffering with some injuries, they haven't quite got the funds? Sending some players out on loan then might have been a good idea. Maybe in the attacking positions, you actually look at it, one of the things we've been struggling with is an attacking creative midfielder. Giovanni Lo Celso, I know, has his own injury problems constantly. Injured right now, I believe, and Tanguy Ndombele, who is not injured, but they were our two most creative attacking midfielders. Both of them went out on loan and we didn't replace them at all. So, maybe even though we're in a good position, maybe in all competitions it's come back to bite us a little bit. I'm not too sure. Leave your comments below about that one. I'd love to hear what people's thoughts are on it. I'm not saying, Tanguy's attitude is great. I'm not saying that Lo Celso is necessarily the right player, but from the bench, could someone like Lo Celso, maybe, who does have an effort level, could that have helped us? I don't know. But, on the night, I thought, considering Forest's season, I think a cup run for them would be good. It will lift spirits within the City ground. I think Cooper's done a good job considering they signed about 4 different squads in the window after getting rid of a couple of squads worth of players. But for us, it wasn't good enough. Our injury problems have caused too much chopping and changing up top. There's, and every time we rotate, he seems to rotate too many players at one time, and I think it causes a bit of discohesion on the pitch, if you will. But look, that's all I really want to talk about today. There's not much else to say. It was disappointing, but yeah. I will be doing a video, not tomorrow because I'm busy. I will do one on Sunday at some point talking about the England squad, my thoughts. Because, hey, if we've got this World Cup at this time, I'm going to have to talk about it. Got to talk about something because there's not going to be much in terms of Tottenham news. So that's what my next video will be about on Sunday. Hopefully I'll get that posted Sunday evening. Talking about the England squad, what I think our chances are in the World Cup, and things like that, which players deserve to go, which players shouldn't have gone. We've all got our opinion on that one, so I will be looking forward to comments in that one. So thanks for sticking around. As I said at the beginning, if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to support the video with a like, and most importantly, leave your comments below because the conversation is what we want. So thank you very much. Have been Kieran from Speaking Spurs, and until next time, come on you Spurs.